Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our campaign is Timeless Sands of India. It was written by John Hook, and he is also our game master. This is episode 2. Our recap will be given by Morgan Llewellyn as his character, Phoebe Lockhart. So without any further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. Morgan?
The last 3 months have been a nightmare. No sleep I've been getting. No sleep with the horrible dreams of colors and the shrill noise. I can't rest. Nothing has helped. Drink, drugs, nothing. All I can remember from night after night of cold sweat and restless tossing is a rearing blue elephant, some red text, and a metal-covered book. And just a distinct impression of Calcutta. I've never been to Calcutta. I don't know anybody who's ever been to Calcutta, but in desperation, I decided to travel there seeking an answer. I didn't know what else to do. I need sleep. I can't go on like this. But on board the Baccarat, the ship, the last ship I have to be on before I reach Calcutta, I discovered that several of my fellow travelers have been plagued by the same thing. There's Mr. Crane. He owns a tea company, Ramachandran, who he recently graduated from Oxford, I think, studying economics. Mr. Barnes, he was ex-assistant to a magistrate of southern India. Mr. Hauptmann, a German businessman. And Adam Folder. Oh God, poor Adam. He was a kind gentleman. He made lovely jewelry. We all remembered the elephant and the text. They told me that means dreaming pilgrim. But only Barnes and Ramachandran also remember the book. Crane remembers traveling through a desert. Adam remembered a great bronze statue topped with a red gem. And Hauptmann remembers being chased by some malicious being or animal. Even stranger, we've all been compelled to try to render this elephant artistically. My painting is nowhere near as beautiful as my voice. Crane tried using butterfly scales under a microscope. Barnes and Ramachandran sketched, and Hauptmann whittled. None of us came close to capturing that elephant or text as beautifully as Adam did with his pocket watch. And now Adam is dead. He was found with a noose around his neck amid a raging fire below decks. I helped those overcome with the smoke, but I wasn't there for Adam. If only I had sat outside my room smoking like I usually do when I can't sleep. If I hadn't been so focused on myself, maybe I could have stopped him. He was clutching a note that read, "Goodbye, cruel world." But I couldn't stay after that. Couldn't stomach the autopsy, especially after Adam's fingers had to be broken to get that note. Adam was fine. He seemed fine. Why would anyone, especially himself, wish him harm? This is terrible. This is all terrible. It's a nightmare. Why is this happening to us? Why is this happening to me? Oh God, I hope Calcutta has answers.
That was fantastic. As you guys try and wake from what little rest you were able to get, I need everyone to make a sanity roll. This is your sleep deprivation roll.
Yes.
Fail.
Our first fail.
And your second.
Ah.
And I claimed the third. Third fail's mine.
This is going to be a difficult day for you, for those who have failed.
I have passed.
Oh, excellent.
Which comes as something of relief after last night's dice rolls.
Oh, man.
So to refresh you on the sleep deprivation mechanic, if you have failed this sanity check, you will have to have a penalty die on all physical and mental skills, and due to the failure, you are going to be required to have a hard success at whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish for that task to be successful. Those who were fortunate enough to have a successful sanity roll, you still have a penalty die due to the sleep deprivation, but you only need a normal success to be successful at whatever it is that you're attempting.
Okay.
So keep that in mind for this day. We'll roll again each morning. And speaking of morning, this is the first morning after Adam's untimely suicide and the fire in the hole. This is also the last full day at sea, for you are scheduled to arrive at Calcutta dock. It's a Kittapur port tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So this is your final day at sea.
Thank God.
What do you do?
Well, it's morning. I'm going to go for some light breakfast.
As you head out of your cabin, the way the ship is designed, you actually kind of have to exit and go onto the open deck to move around where you can dine. And you notice that since the fire, now that the day has come up, the lieutenant in charge of the billeted soldiers, he's posted guards. There are now there's an obvious and visual armed soldier presence across the ship, mainly just to keep peace, since there was some sort of fire and then a death involved. So the soldiers are on high alert. Is anyone else going to go for breakfast?
I'll stretch my legs and meet Crane for breakfast.
Yes, rolls and coffee at least.
I'm not hungry. I'm just out smoking, watching the water.
I can't start the day without my kedgeree.
All right. Those who go to the dining hall, you do see one table open. There's another table that has a couple of ship hands. They're also just now waking up. They seem to be sleeping quite well, other than having to fight the fire and all the commotion from the previous night. As you come into the dining hall, and there's that one open table, the steward really doesn't even inquire what you want. He just drops a tray with some tea. Sure, we'll call it tea, but it looks like swill. But he places that on the table and comes back with a basket of bread.
Could you bring me a pot of hot water, not tea? Just hot water. Boiling, please.
He silently stands there for a moment, raises his eyebrows, and turns to go into the kitchen.
Thank you. Bernard.
Yes. God, it tastes horrible.
Yes, I've got a pot of. I've got my secret stash.
Oh, thank God! Stuff.
Why, that was some business last night, wasn't it?
Dear God, yes. Poor Adam.
I still don't think that he killed himself. I hope they get the blighter.
I have no idea what to make of that.
Did everybody else say they were coming except for Phoebe? Is that correct?
I am, yes.
Gentlemen,
good morning.
Hello, Raina. Good morning.
It's the same dreams, I assume?
Yeah, very similar. Mr. Ramachandran, how are you this morning?
I'm perfectly all right, thank you. Yes.
It's quite all right. We're all having difficulty sleeping. I can barely keep my eyes open.
Well, it's just I've never seen a dead body before.
Mm.
It came as something of a shock.
So you weren't in the war?
Well, no, I was at university.
I see.
I came back for a little while to help my father with his work, and then resumed my studies again later.
It's very difficult at the beginning, but I assure you, if you are sufficiently misfortunate, you grow used to such things.
But it does make one think how fragile the life of a man is. He just did not seem to me the type that would commit a suicide, but I suppose everyone says that.
Considering that he was on his way to uncover the mystery of the blue elephant, and yet he could not continue on to Calcutta when we are so close. And when he had learned that there were others who shared his nightmare.
It seemed to offer him a little reprieve,
Indeed.
just knowing there are others in his predicament.
It has for me. I'm grateful for you all.
Certainly he's a man with some skills, too, with his artistic talent in sculpting that manufacturing that watch. Was quite skillful, quite beautiful.
So if this wasn't a suicide,
then someone aboard the ship murdered him.
And that means we might all have an enemy. A shared enemy. If it's the blue elephant or the dream pilgrim that is the reason he was killed, if he was killed.
Well, we don't really know the man. He could have dealings that we don't have a clue about. He might be involved with someone, or
he didn't mention.
Things.
He didn't seem like he thought he was in danger with someone following him on the ship, did he? Did he speak to any of you of such a thing?
No, not at all.
Although, Mr. Crane, you make a good point. A jeweler has the opportunity to create enemies, potentially. I mean, there are significant financial relationships, I suppose.
Perhaps business wasn't going well and he had embezzled some money. Who knows? I mean, we know nothing about the man.
But to have come all this way and then to have ended his life in such circumstances on a ship seems curious.
The other thing is, it doesn't seem like a robbery. Now, if some rotten blighter of a sailor decided he wanted some of this jewelry and just murdered him, why make it look like a ridiculous suicide? Why not just toss his body over the rail in the middle of the night?
Well, and to be both hanged and burnt, and the danger of starting a fire on a vessel.
I didn't go down there. When you were down there, did it seem as if the fire had been purposefully started, or could it have been an accident?
There was the canister of fuel, which looked like it started it. It did look like it was on purpose.
Like it had been opened and poured about?
It did look like such. Have any of you been to his room?
No, I'm not sure that that's appropriate, but perhaps we should have a bit of a peek.
I wonder who would be responsible for his papers and whatnot.
I'm not thinking that it's a slight exaggeration, but we were the closest friends he had aboard the ship.
The reason I mentioned the room is if there was someone after him, maybe they rifled through his room and his possessions.
Ah, indeed.
And if his room is rifled through, then perhaps we have a culprit on board with nefarious purpose.
And if not, then we have somebody who brought a vendetta from the mainland that wasn't interested in his goods or his services, just killing him.
Or again, he might have taken his own life. I have had some very dire thoughts myself in these sleepless weeks. And his hand was so tightly clutched around that goodbye cruel world. Even in death, he did not relinquish it. But yes, seeing his things might tell us something.
Seems a rather cliche thing to say as well, isn't it? Goodbye, cruel world. There was nothing to indicate that he felt the world was cruel.
Did any of us get a good look? Maybe at his writing, his handwriting.
That's a very good idea.
My goodness, have any of you seen Phoebe this morning?
Oh, she took it rather hard. I had a smoke with her afterwards. She seemed quite unnerved by the whole business. She wanted to pluck in and help, but women can be a little delicate in those matters. Even myself, I was rather not so predisposed to seeing the victim. One has to sleep at night. Ironic that I would say that, isn't it?
We can hope she's having a late morning.
Perhaps we should go check on her.
And as you guys are discussing that, Phoebe is out on the rail overlooking the ocean, and a tall officer approaches Phoebe, and he walks up and kind of indicates the railing area next to you and says, "Is this spot taken?"
Oh, no, please. Would you like a cigarette?
Oh, very good. Thank you. And he produces a lighter for you and accepts your cigarette and lights both of them for you. And he then introduced himself, Captain Anthony Gerling, at your service.
Anthony Gerling, did I hear that right?
Yes, Anthony Gerling.
Well, Anthony, we had to have a bit of company. It's a beautiful morning, isn't it?
It is indeed, with if I may say, a beautiful young woman. What brings you to this part of the world? Why are you traveling to Calcutta?
Oh, I don't know. I just, I get caught up in whims, and sometimes I just can't seem to control myself. Just this time, felt like Calcutta. Something about Calcutta. Couldn't resist.
What an adventuresome lass.
Some might say that.
So
very
you've
brave
never
of
been
you.
to Calcutta?
Oh, I've never been to Calcutta, but I have to thank you and your men for being so brave with that fire last night. Otherwise, I never have lived to see it.
And he seems to stand a little taller. Hell, this is the sort of thing that the British Army is trained for. We do our duty.
Well, it's a good thing. Lucky, I guess, if you want to look at it that way, to be on the same ship as all of you.
Yes, indeed. I'm sure luck had quite a bit to play with it.
Tell me, have you been to Calcutta before, Anthony?
Many times, many times. If you find that you have time, I would love to show you the city.
Oh, that would be swell.
That's amazing. Well, I must be on my way, checking them in, don't you know? But
yes, of course. Somebody's got to keep those boys in line.
Yes. You let me know if anyone is becomes bothersome. I shall take care of it myself.
Yes, if anybody bothers me, you'll be the first to know, Anthony.
And he takes your hand and gives it an almost effortless kiss. You just barely feel his lips touch your fingers, and then he kind of snaps to and marches off. And then I believe a crowd of gentlemen are on their way.
Oh, there she is over there. Miss Lockhart.
Oh, gentlemen. How are you this morning?
We're better than we were last night, but how are you this morning?
Wish I could say the same. I've never felt this tired in my whole life.
It was quite a shock as well last night. Yes, indeed. Now, we don't want to upset you, but we were seriously thinking that The concept of suicide in this case just doesn't seem to add up. And I was wondering what your opinion would be.
I mean, it's hard to know somebody so well after just spending a few hours walking around a ship, but
Particularly, we're thinking
No,
of that ridiculous note. Goodbye, cruel world.
Cruel world.
He certainly did not seem like he thought the world was a cruel world.
No, and I think there would be more of a... The muse was with him so well with that gorgeous pocket watch. I think he would find something more poetic to say.
Indeed.
But who would kill him out here? In a way that would, I mean, with the fire, it's so reckless. They would probably, if we hadn't managed to put it out, they would kill themselves as well. The fire.
John, do I recall that the watch is not on his person?
You do recall the watch is missing. So it was a pocket watch with a waistcoat chain, and the watch and chain are gone.
But the charred waistcoat was still on his body.
Say that again.
The charred waistcoat was still on his. He was still wearing it.
Yes, he had the waistcoat. Yep.
Phoebe, we were thinking about whether we would take the liberty of seeing if we could peer at Adam's things. For one thing, if we find that perhaps there's a longer note there that explains what he did, if he did, or perhaps we'll find the watch there. And if we don't find the watch there, then I think we have to assume that he did not choose to end his own life, and that there's something very dangerous on this vessel.
Well, that seems good. Yes, let's do that.
It also seems to me like if we bring this to the captain's the captain's table, we should be able to figure out who did it. I mean, it's probably not going to be a member of the regular crew that the captain is well aware of. It's not going to be one of the soldiers that the major or whatever he is knows well. It would have to probably be a member of the crew that is new and unseasoned, that seems to have just joined the crew recently. Somebody untrustworthy.
Or someone from Mr. Fuller's original locality. Although presumably he would have told us if he knew someone on board.
Of course, there's the other possibility that it's one of us.
Well, on that lovely note, I think we should check his things before jumping to any conclusions, Mr. Crane.
Yes.
And I'll flick my cigarette off into the water.
There should be some evidence as to what he was up to or got involved in.
Maybe we could see a sampling of his writing as well.
Yes.
In his room.
Writing.
Yes, well, we can sit around and chat all morning about how we'll look through this dead man's things, but let's just get it over with, shall we?
So, you know where he was staying, don't you?
I do.
All right.
Okay, you guys make it over into the area where the passengers are. In fact, it's the same hallway that your cabins, and that's a very generous use of that term. These are really we would think of them as like closets almost, right? And so they're very narrow. There's not a lot of room. The bed is a cot that folds down from the wall. During the day, it's easier to just fold it back up against the wall. And then you've got some room for a small built-in wall. very, very tiny, and they're up against one wall. So there's a porthole for each of these cabins along the outer wall of the ship that they are located. So you get to the door that was Adam's, and it's unlocked. As I assume everyone's are, unless you just choose to lock them.
No, this is it. This is the one.
Well, let's take a look.
Okay. This will only hold a maximum of 2 people at any one time. Everyone else will have to be in the hallway. Who would like to go in?
No, I'll go in first.
Okay, Phoebe, or is it Phoebe only?
I will go in as well. I'm the one who broke his fingers.
Yes. All right. So Phoebe and Herr Hauptmann, they enter into Adam's cabin, and it's a wreck. The bedding is all twisted about, and looks like any of the personal items that he had set on the small desk have all been shoved over to one side. But there is one book and one pen centered on the desk, and all of Adam's luggage is open and spilled onto the floor.
This is well.
Yeah.
I want to pick up the book. Is there a page torn out of it?
There is a page torn out of it. And the book is it's a journal. It's a personal journal, and one of the blank pages towards the end have been torn out.
Oh well, do you still have his note, Reiner?
Give me a luck roll on that.
Yeah, what's good? Luck might be the only thing that's not affected
I would
by
say,
my
yeah,
lack of sleep.
absolutely. Luck is unaffected.
28 is at least a success, if not a hard success. But
Great, yeah. It's your choice. You can either have it with you, or you may, by design, have left it with Dr. Snow. I'll let you choose.
oh, Dr. Snow. No, I'll have it.
Okay, you have it.
Yes.
You have it, and you can after you unfold it and kind of smooth it out, you can butt up the torn edge of the paper to the spot where the paper was torn out from the book, and it is a match.
And the handwriting.
The handwriting, there's no roll necessary for this. As you can see in the personal journal, there is very neat and very precise handwriting. Nothing short of what you would expect from an individual who makes his living with very precise and fine details of art in his jewelry making. And that handwriting from the journal is in stark contrast to the scrawl that is the suicide note saying goodbye cruel world.
Yeah,
And
Phoebe, we
it's-
thought that it was perhaps he was in distress, but between the situation of this room and this handwriting, I don't think this is the same man. How is it ink for ink? Is it blue and black, or is it?
It looks like the ink is the same color, which also matches the pen that's right there on the table.
Okay.
So everything's black.
And if we go flip through the last entries of his journal.
Yes. See what he has. See what he has to say. I'm going to look for. I recall, right? We have most of our luggage stored elsewhere, but we probably had like a valise and a change of clothes in our little berths.
Yep. So think of it in today's world. If it was a small enough bag to carry onto an airplane, that's what you have with you. If it's anything that you would have like checked onto an airplane in today's world, that is in the cargo hold of the ship.
Okay. So
Just
and
due to
there's
limited space.
is there anything like a lockbox, or is it just like one suitcase that's been torn open and had things strewn around?
Yeah, it's just one valise that's been up and out.
All right. So I'm gonna, delicately within reason, look through his scattered belongings.
Okay.
I'd like to. I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, give me a spot hidden to look through. Phoebe, what do you want to do?
I'm reading through the last, just the last entries.
Last few entries. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the last few entries. So this won't require a roll. So the last few entries, it almost feels as if it's your own thoughts. So Adam was writing things like, the nightmares are never ending. I'm hopefully Calcutta will bring a release. Calcutta, something's taking me to Calcutta. And what is that bronze statue with the red gem? I have to know what this is. It's maddening, but there's something will help release me in Calcutta. Those are the kind of notes that you see in the final entries of the journal.
Yeah, he seemed hopeful, like the rest of us, that Calcutta has something. It didn't seem like he was giving up.
How did your search go, Mr. Hopman?
Failure, die, failure. 37 and 67. I can't see anything.
Yeah, as you're bending over and searching through the clothing and the refuse that's been tossed around, it's just you're starting to feel like a little nausea and just getting sick. It's just the headaches and the sleep deprivation. It's just too much, and now you're kind of starting to feel a little claustrophobic in here.
Yeah, I imagine it's really hot too in these
super
little
hot.
Yeah, Phoebe, I think we should keep that book. I need to step out. Perhaps someone else will notice something.
So while Phoebe and Mr. Hopman are in the cabin, so that is going to mean, by process of elimination, Mr. Major Barnes and Mr. Ramachandran, you guys are in the hallway. For a group luck roll between the three of you, I need the individual who has the lowest luck at this moment. So compare lucks with each other, and who has the lowest, please.
I'm at 60.
2 60s, I think.
50.
Oh, a 50. Anybody lower than 50?
Nope, 51 here.
50 wins. You have the honor of making a luck roll for the folks in the hallway.
It landed in the hole of the paper, so it didn't quite go. It landed up pointing up. I got a 9.
Oh, all right. So super lucky. The hallway is empty. No one has come by. Mm-hmm. You can hear some crew moving around, but they haven't come into this hallway.
And we're listening to what's going on in the room.
Yeah, you guys, there's no... It's right. So small. You guys are right there. You are receiving information, sharing with those folks.
I'm thinking that what we should do now is we should get the captain of the ship and the head of the military group down below together and tell them what we think and why. Because somebody on the ship is a murderer.
That does not sound like a bad idea.
And I'd personally like to see the man hung. Never seen a hanging. Hanged? Hanged.
Hanged.
Okay. So tell me again, what is it that you're doing? Are you going right now to the captain, or what's going on?
We're waiting for them to finish in the room.
Okay. Mr. Hopman, Phoebe, is there anything else that you need
already.
to do?
I've gone out and mopping my brow and say, have a look. Someone has been here for certain.
Interesting.
I did not find the watch.
Well,
I'm sorry. I can confirm you did not find the watch.
Well, I was just saying, Mr. Hoffman, that I think that we should go to the captain, go to the military captain and to the ship's captain, and tell them that they have a murderer on board the ship somewhere.
I think I am broadly in agreement with you, of course. I think we might not make too great a spectacle of ourselves, though, because I would rather not alert the murderer to our persons before we tell the authorities that
Oh,
there
correct,
is
yes. That's why I
So-
say just get them together alone.
Right. Well, we can't run through the hall saying, "Where's the captain? Where's the head lieutenant or whatever?" We have
I
to
imagine
be
they should be
certain.
fairly easy to find. But
Well, but will they? I mean, I don't know that they are eager to speak to every passenger. I simply mean we should go through channels.
perhaps we talk to the captain of the ship first, and then go with what he recommends.
Oh, are you talking about Captain Gerling?
Is that his name?
He's the captain of the soldiers that are here.
Ah,
They're
well,
coming.
I was
don't-
actually speaking to the captain of the ship.
I haven't met the ship's captain.
And I would think that the group of officers this large would be governed by a higher authority than a mere captain. So maybe I don't know how.
Is it a company that's
If it's
on the
just
ship?
a company, a captain.
Yeah, it would be a
the
captain
ranking
if it's a
officer of
company.
the
Yeah, Phoebe knows way
Okay.
more about the military than I do.
That's just me I was just asking as a player if it was
Oh, yeah,
if it
a
was said
captain.
last time if it was a company of British soldiers then
I'm looking for a lieutenant.
it would be a captain as the highest.
Lieutenants usually run
Report.
a platoon, and a captain of a company.
That is true.
Well, are we done here? Let's go.
Again, I would like someone else to look and see if there's anything in the room before,
My pleasure.
because you know that. Yeah, please have a look around. I couldn't see anything.
Without being destructive, I give it a good, thorough look.
Okay. Use your penalty die due to sleep deprivation, but go ahead and make your spot hidden roll.
Make sure you
Alright.
check under his pillow.
65 is the worst of the two, and spot hidden is 40. Fail.
Okay. And you were one of the ones who failed your sleep deprivation, so you're looking for hard successes.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Oh, me, I slept well, or I
As
passed
best as you
my-
could?
Yeah,
Okay,
I-
so you were one of the
Actually,
successes. Okay.
No, I
Well,
was
that's
telling
good.
you, so even my good roll wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Now that you remind me.
All right. So yeah, you go in there, you kind of look around, and yeah, it's just personal effects. So nothing leaps out at you.
I'm not seeing anything.
No, let's go
Great.
speak with the captain. That's probably the best course of action.
Good
Okay.
idea.
And you have Fuller's journal with you, or no?
Yes, we should bring that.
I advised Phoebe to keep it. Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's what I thought I heard. I just want to make sure.
And I'm talking about the ship's captain. He's
Sure.
he's the authority on this ship. At the moment,
Sure.
so.
All right. So the captain is, he spends most of his time up on the bridge.
Mhm.
So you guys want to head out to the bridge?
Perhaps we should get into a room and then somebody go get him and tell him that we have an urgent matter.
Well, again, yeah, I likewise, I think a little bit of subterfuge is wise when we have an unknown killer or more than one killer aboard the vessel.
Indeed.
I wonder, Major Barnes, perhaps you will be most likely to be received by a ship captain.
Yeah.
You're familiar with the location and a military man. So if we find ourselves a comfortable place on deck in the shade, and you can speak to him for us and perhaps bring us to him or the other way around without telling everyone on board.
That might be a wonderful. I like that idea.
Because
Crane, would you
anybody
like-
on board the ship could be the bad guy, the murderer.
As you said, Mr. Crane, even one of us.
Yes. A little bit of the Agatha Christie story in me.
I'd like one of you to come with me. That would seem not too menacing. Just a couple strolling and going on to the
Perhaps
bridge.
Miss Lockhart.
Yes, I'll go with you, Major Barnes.
My pleasure.
All right. So you guys head up to the bridge to meet the captain,
Yes.
the captain of the Bankura.
Yes.
All right. So you get up to the bridge, and there's crew personnel moving about, doing regular shipboard duties, and so you can see the bridge, and this room has lots of glass, so there's tons of visibility, and so you guys can see. There's 3 gentlemen inside the bridge compartment, and 2 of them are Indian. One is white, most likely English, and the door there has a big window in it as well. The door's closed, so do you want to just walk in, knock? I'm not sure what your approach is.
Oh, we'll go up and do a brisk knock, respecting their. I don't want to barge in on them, so a little.
Okay, so as you knock, the white gentleman is huge. This guy is big, and he kind of turns and he points with his head towards the door, and one of the other fellas, one of the Indian gentlemen, opens the door and opens it for you guys to enter. And the very large man picks up a dark blue hat that's got the captain's rank on it. He kind of squares it onto his head, and this guy, like I said, he is huge. He's built like a brick crap house, and his hands are just stained with oil and filth. He looks like he's would be more at home in the engine room, but clearly he's captaining the vessel, and so he looks at you and says, "Yes, what can I do for you?"
Oh, Captain, it's my pleasure. We were hoping. There were some of us that had a matter of some importance to review briefly with you, if you had a moment this afternoon at all. We'd keep it very brief, but we wanted to bring it to your attention. Would you have a couple minutes to spare just to meet with some of the passengers?
And he seems a bit caught off guard, like no one's ever asked to talk to him before, and so he kind of looks down, and he looks at one of his mates and says, "You got this?" And the guy just kind of nods and he goes, "Sure. What can I help you with?"
Oh, thank you so much. We are trying to. Would you kindly just step outside or just for a moment so we could have a brief chat?
Sure. And he gestures with one of his giant hands, and he gestures towards the door, and he says, "After you, please."
Thank you. Oh, Major Barnes, by the way, retired.
Oh, and this giant hand comes and envelops yours, and he says, "Edward McLean, pleased to meet you."
It's a pleasure, Captain. All right, so step outside and just around the corner where the gentlemen are here.
Okay, so everyone came up to the bridge, or I thought everyone else was at a room. You and Phoebe came up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And the captain sees Phoebe as well, and he goes, "Miss," and he kind of his hand dwarfs his hat, and he just kind of touches it lightly. "Miss."
Now, at the same time that was going on, I suppose I would go and see if I can get a hold of Captain Gerling and bring him to the same meeting.
Okay. Are you going by yourself? Anybody going with you?
Well, it's not necessary for anybody to come. Somebody should be here when they get here.
Okay. All right, so you go, and Gerling is fairly easy to find. So you can see Captain Gerling. There is a lieutenant standing with him, and they're smoking by one of the railings, kind of overlooking the ocean, as they're having a small private conversation, kind of chit-chatting and not giggling, but having low laughter amongst themselves.
Pardon me, Captain Gerling, is it?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
A number of the passengers would like to have a private word with you, if that's possible. Concerning something I'd rather not discuss openly. There are a number of us, including Miss Lockhart, who you met last night, or this morning.
Well, I couldn't turn down an invitation if Miss Lockhart was inquiring.
Right.
And then he turns to the lieutenant. He says, "You have this, yes?" And then the lieutenant was like, "Yes, I've got it." So he says, "Well, all right then."
So if you accompanied me, then I'll take you there.
All right, and he follows.
All right. So we've all converged.
Okay. And where are y'all meeting? The dining hall is large enough to hold everyone.
We want someplace where there's not going to be people overhearing us, though.
Yeah, I thought I suggested we look for a shady spot of the deck because you can't hear anything next to the
towards
water.
the back of the deck. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the closer to the bridge might be good because that's generally where just the crew is. Well, then again, that might not be good.
You could do either extreme of the boat, so you could either go all the way fore or all the way aft, and probably have as much privacy as possible that way.
Well, the fore of the ship is going to be less smoky.
That is true.
It'll also be closer to the bridge, and we don't want to detain the captain too much away from his duties of running the ship. So
that's also true.
Be considered for him.
All right, so we're all meeting up in the front.
Okay, so you guys have this impromptu meeting at the bow of the ship, and Captain in standing there and sees Captain Gerling approach, and they nod towards each other. Clearly, they've already had an introduction between each other, and McLean stands there and he kind of puts his hands on his hips and he says, "Well, what's this all about?"
It's about Adam Fuller, the man who died last night.
Yes, the suicide.
Well, we're not quite sure that it was a suicide.
We have strong evidence to indicate that it was not a suicide, that he was in fact murdered and robbed, and then the murder covered up with by lighting the ship on fire.
And so in his hands, he says, "Well, hold on. Now, Dr. Snow assured me that this was a suicide. Has he come up with new evidence? And where is Snow?"
Well, we didn't invite him.
That's a very interesting question. Where is Mr. Snow or Dr. Snow? Have you seen him? Does he have regular duties?
I would say so. He's normally in the infirmary.
Now, we were familiar with, I'm sorry, what's his name?
Mr. Fuller.
Yeah, we were familiar with Mr. Fuller. He was not the suicidal type. He had quite a lot of things. In fact, we were all on a kind of a trip together to Calcutta to solve a mystery. We know that he had a very expensive pocket watch, which is now missing, and his room has been rifled. Also, the text on the suicide note does not match his handwriting in any way, and there's nothing to indicate in any of his personal effects that he had any difficulties or dealings with criminals or or anything like that. So we suspect that somebody aboard the ship is a murderer.
And with all respect, captains, I recognize that this is not sufficient proof for a court of law. But if we do have someone who is willing to hang a man and set the ship on fire, it's urgent, I would think, that we be cognizant of that possibility.
Before we get into Calcutta and he gets away for good.
Also, if someone usually who would hang themselves would just hang themselves. Having a fire then set to potentially cover up anything else seems suspicious.
So McLean, he's been listening, and before I await judgment, it sounds like you guys are trying to persuade Captain McLean that there's something afoul afoot. So I need someone to elect themselves to be the waiter, even though it does sound like it was Mr. Crane doing most of the talking. Here's how I'm going to run this. Yes, you guys have these penalty dice due to sleep deprivation, but anytime a second person kind of assists and kind of helps out, those are opportunities to have bonus dice added. So I'm going to say in this particular case, because so many people are kind of helping and you're all trying to work as a team to convey a unified message, I'm going to eliminate the penalty die for this persuade roll, but I won't award any bonus dice. So I'd like to have Mr. Crane do a persuade with normal success.
I got a 23 out of 75.
You may tick that skill, good sir. You are quite persuasive. Quite
Indeed.
Persuasive.
Logic.
Go ahead.
I just said logic.
Of course. Absolutely. Plain is truly absorbing this information, and he eventually puts his hands up and he says, before we go any further and start accusing anyone of murder, and let me say, I have been sailing with my crew for quite some time. I find it very hard to believe that anyone of my crew could be a murderer. I want to hear what the doctor has to say, and if this is something that needs to be investigated, how should we go about doing this? And then that's when Captain Gerling says, well, if I may, this sounds like something that the military should start a thorough investigation. Don't you believe?
Oh, yes, I believe that...
That's why we brought you both here.
Yes, Anthony, or should I say Captain Gerling, I believe you will be more than capable of taking care of this.
And again, he seems to taller now, and so McLean kind of shakes his head and says, "Somebody go get Snow." What's his input on this?
I'll go fetch him. Don't worry, Captain. We're so sorry to take up so much of your time. I'll go to find him. I've been to the infirmary.
Okay. So Phoebe, you take off for the infirmary?
No.
No?
Yes.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I went to
heard-
unmute myself and I actually went full screen instead of unmute. Anyway, yes, I'm going.
Fantastic. So yeah, you make your way to the infirmary, and Dr. Snow is in there, and there's a couple of the soldiers are kind of green around the gills, and Snow is passing out some pills to them, and then they hike it back
They
to
belong.
wherever it is that they belong. And as you come in, kind of wipes his hands off on his coat and says, "Hello, it's Phoebe. Yes, how can I help?"
Yes. Captain McLean would like you to come with me to the front of the ship. Having a bit of meeting about Adam Fuller, and
Yeah.
he would like your input. So if you would please come.
Okay, and he follows you back to the bow of the ship. So once you guys get back together, and you update Dr. Snow on your theory, Snow puts his hands up and he says, "I don't know if I buy this. Look, I did an autopsy. Granted, it was rather crude and difficult to do under these conditions, but I was able to see that his lungs were clear. The gentleman hung himself. He died of asphyxiation before the fire ravaged his body. There's the suicide note. The man committed suicide. I've already written up my report."
May I ask you a question, Doctor? You've just asserted that the man died of asphyxiation before the fire was started.
I said before the fire killed him. He died of asphyxiation before the fire ravaged his body. I don't know if the fire was started later or not. That's impossible to tell, but clearly he was both burned and hung, and I can say through science that it was the hanging that killed him.
Yes, but can you tell us if he hung himself or if somebody hung him up? You can't tell that, can you?
Any struggle, perhaps?
Any bruises on his arms where he fought off an attacker? His room is a shambles. There was obviously a struggle in there.
We are on a ship. It tosses. It turns.
Yes,
Over all the time out here.
Dr. Stowe, I appreciate that you have a professional reputation involved, but we have both the diary that he kept in his room with this handwriting and the page from the diary that matches it, and this is not the same writing. Anyone can tell. He was an engraver. He was a man of meticulous detail. And
no reason to commit suicide.
He was clearly a man driven to suicide. I'm sure it was through the duress of depression that made his handwriting so crazy. And he looks to McLean. He goes, "Captain, this is unheard of. Now I have already declared this suicide. What are you going to do?"
Does he seem nervous or like he's trying to hide something? I've got a
give me a psychology. You will need to do your penalty die for this.
No, complete massive failure.
Very difficult to take. Yeah, your own sleep deprivation is got you riding on your last nerves as well.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start walking off, and I'm like, well, suicide maybe, but if there is somebody out to menace the people on the ship, I'm sure that Captain Gerling here will do an excellent job at protecting us. And I'll give him a smile and kind of touch Gerling's arm, and then walk off.
Look, we're not.
Ding! The Captain Gerling says, "Right, let's get this started," and he just walks off to go and get his men engaged in a search party.
So, and yes, Cap, thank you so much for your services, Dr. Snow. Your medical expertise is invaluable to
Well, I don't think any of us are disputing that the hanging and the burning did him in, but the reasons, the evidence is what we're disputing.
Yeah, a tossing and turning
Well,
ship.
we
would,
shouldn't give the doctor too hard of a time. You know, this is all very recent, all very, very, I guess, scary. Sorry, excuse me. And I am gonna leave.
Yes, I think that we should leave it in the captain's hands. They're the authorities. We're merely concerned citizens.
Yeah, reporting our observations.
And with that, Captain McLean puts a hand on Snow's shoulder and says, "Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about your report. I'll stand behind whatever your report says, but I think it's important that we follow up on this just to be on the safe side." And that seems to ease Snow, and he says, "All right, Captain." And so he turns away and heads back off for his infirmary. So Gerling is organizing his soldiers into groups of 4, and they're going to begin do room by room search of the ship. But they're not sure what they're looking for. Does anybody want to help guide them, or what's going on?
The only thing we know...
Pocket watch. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, precisely. The one thing we know that we saw on, I presume, the victim's body, that he had at dinner and did not have when we found him, was an ornate pocket watch.
Is it lunchtime already?
An ornate pocket watch that had an engraving of a rearing elephant tinted blue, and on the inside writing in Sanskrit. So it's a very unmistakable piece, and someone has it.
All right. So Hotman says, or Hotman, you're Hotman. Captain Gerling takes that information and he says, "All right, pocket watch with a blue sight. Shouldn't be too hard." And so you can see as he's got all of his men standing at attention in formation as he starts walking up and down the line, giving orders to all these guys, and actually he's gonna break them up in teams of 2. So every 2 men will be working together as they're gonna start moving through the ship and checking all the different compartments. What do you guys want to do during this search?
I kind of want to lie low. How many passengers are there, roughly?
Really, as far as non-military and non-Bancora crew, it's just you guys.
Oh, okay. I thought there were. Yeah. For some reason, I had the impression there were some more.
It's not normally a passenger
I may
ship,
have implied there were more, but yeah, I think it's going to be just easier if it's just you guys, and it's Bancora crew, and it's military.
Reduce the cast of characters.
Yes.
Well, I will be lingering near Captain Gerling while this is going on.
Yeah. So Gerling. So the soldiers are billeted in cargo hold 1, but the captain and his right hand man, a lieutenant, they've kind of staked out an area up on the top deck near cargo hold 1 as kind of like their little HQ, if you will. And so he's gonna be kind of emceeing the search from there. So you're welcome. You know, there's like a chair that they've pulled a camp chair, you know, something that the soldiers carry with them, that he pops that chair out and offers it to you so you can hang out with them.
Yeah, I'll just sit there and smoke. I'm not gonna interject or really get in their way, but
okay,
I will just be present and listening.
So Phoebe's going to kind of hanging out with Captain Gerling and his lieutenant. Hauptmann was going to be kind of laying low in your
I'm gonna-
cabin, laying low just outside.
I'm going to the rear of the vessel with my knife and my wooden elephant, and I will try to improve it, stripping off bits of wood and letting them into the sea.
Okay. Oh, good. You can make another whittling attempt. Ramachandran, what are you going to be doing while the soldiers are breaking up 2 by 2 by 2 to go and do some searching?
Mute there. I'm still just going to deliberately keep a low profile. I've spent enough time in both India and in England to know that when it comes to matters like this, it's best to keep out of the way of soldiers or policemen while they are looking for potential suspects, particularly if you're the only well-spoken brown-skinned man about.
Mm.
So I'm attempting to be as discreet as possible whilst maintaining sort of obvious social contact with the other members of the group as a sort of protective shield. But I haven't done anything wrong, but I don't think that would necessarily protect me if someone decided to throw allegations against me.
Why would that protect you exactly? Mr. Crane.
I'm going to join Mr. Reiner at the back end of the ship just to sit and smoke and sit quietly.
Okay.
I have some slight suspicions that Dr. Snow seemed to be rather reluctant to entertain the idea that there could be a murder aboard the ship. If there's not a murder, well, then everybody's fine. If there is a murderer, we need to find him. I'm surprised that he was not concerned with that at all.
It's hard to. I'm glad that you mentioned this to me. It is easy to think that perhaps he is simply protecting himself as a professional man, and yet, if there was any cause for concern that there was a murderer on a vessel, I would think that one would entertain that matter seriously. And as we said, I think you were very clear. One doesn't hang oneself and then set a fire. Now, as it happened, the fire almost ruined the hanging. So,
You know, I didn't think of that at all. The fire could have snapped the rope before he died, and he could have crawled
it
out.
eventually did. So, and
but
who would
I'm sure it's probably just arrogance.
This is most likely, and I don't know where this man is from.
And I can understand arrogance. I probably know more about tea than the Pope knows about the Bible.
And Major Barnes, what will you be doing while the soldiers are searching the vessel?
I would like to be close to sickbay to kind of, if there's like deck chairs or anything like that nearby where the sickbay is, I'd like to purposely kick back, read a book, maybe The Voyage of the Beagle, something like that, and keep an eye on who goes in and out of there. But just sort of lay low, just reading a book.
Okay. All right. So you guys can all do that. The search of the ship, because the soldiers are going to be pretty thorough, it's going to take a couple of hours for them to fully do the searching that they want to do, and then report back to Captain Gerling. So if there's no objections, I'll move forward 2 hours to where the search has been completed. So with no objections, the you guys have been watching as the soldiers have been coming back and making reports back to Captain Gerling, and after the last pair return, they have nothing to report. They were not able to find the and they spoke to every member of the crew, and they came up without a pocket watch or any other obvious evidence that they would, since they didn't really know what they were looking for beyond a pocket watch, nothing else leapt up out at them as far as what they may think is involved with this possible murder.
And those of us at the back of the vessel didn't see anybody or anything tossed into the chopping sea.
Correct.
Well, it's one of the reasons I chose the back, even though it's smokier. I was hoping to see evidence being discarded if such a thing could happen. Did the captains summon us to say, hey, you guys are just wackadoos, or?
Yeah, so the 2 hours have passed, and so now you can kind of see that Captain Gerling is kind of signaling, kind of waving his arm to catch all of y'all, and he says, why don't we go and meet with Captain McLean and just kind of I'll let you know what my men have found. And as you regroup with McLean again at the bow of the ship, just to kind of keep everything the same, Gerling reports that his men found nothing, no evidence, and that there was no evidence of foul play that they could discover.
Well,
and Gerling stands by the efficiency of his men.
Well, I didn't find anything. I definitely feel much safer that you've had them check the ship. Thank you.
I certainly think that you've done a marvelous job. That's you're far more of an authority than any of us are.
And you can see he stands very tall with the mention of a note of pride for his men.
Did you have the whole company of your men searching the ship?
Probably about half of the company, yeah.
Did you consider that if one of them was the murderer, they could have gotten rid of the evidence?
I must say, Mr. Crane, am I hearing you correctly? Are you saying that...
I'm not accusing anyone. I'm saying that somebody on board this ship, most likely a new person, somebody who hasn't been in your company very long, or somebody who hasn't been on the ship's crew for very long, is most likely the murderer.
I can assure you that my men have stayed where they have needed to be billeted. There's been no liberties aboard the vessel. In fact, it's only now after the fire and the unfortunate accident that I established a perimeter of guards. But yes, I'm quite confident that all of my men were in the cargo hold 1 when the fire began in cargo hold 2.
Well, then I don't think that we have any reason to doubt you at all. So
he and Gerling stands there and he puts his hands behind his back and he kind of begins to rock on his feet, on his heels, and he says, "Your evidence was quite compelling, and thus we conducted this search, but I'm afraid I think I need to side with the doctor. As bizarre as this was, I think it may have been a suicide. I think we need to consider the possibilities that, as bizarre as it is, that sometimes a rose is just a rose."
Or a murderer is very clever, and he gets away with it.
Yes, well, I am sure that Captain Girling's men
Did you check?
did a
Did
thorough
you
job.
check all of our belongings?
Well, certainly. We checked every compartment to include your own.
Good.
That's a relief to me, actually. And not that I do not trust my new friends, but this situation is extremely challenging.
Could there be a stowaway on board somewhere?
Well, they have
Hiding in
just
the hold.
searched the entire ship.
Well, there was one compartment that had mostly our birds, and there's one that has mostly soldiers, and one that had mostly
The luggage.
materials.
Nice.
And that was the one that had a fire. Is there any extension of that place that has not been investigated? I wonder. Yes, if there was someone else that we did not know aboard this vessel, that would explain something.
You know, quite honestly, I'm not so distressed as I was before. I think perhaps we should just leave it in your authority, and if there is a murderer, he's going to get away with it. If there's not a murderer and he committed suicide, in the long run, it doesn't really impact any of our lives.
Yeah, and he could have, if he was so mad, he could have thrown his watch over the side of the ship before he hanged himself and then set himself on fire.
It's a terrible tragedy.
Hanged himself and then set himself on fire. That's
That's
interesting.
where I have the difficulty. This is where I have the difficulty.
Light himself on fire, then hang himself, or hang himself, then light himself.
He jumps off the chair and then flicks the match with his teeth.
Well, did we find how the
acrobatic,
fire...
yeah.
You said there was an accelerant, but how was the fire ignited? Was a kerosene lamp kicked over? Was a match thrown, as you say?
Well, Fuller's body did have a box of matches in his pocket.
Yeah, which is preposterous. I mean, half of his skin was melted into the garments he retained. For me, I found the paper in the hand very convincing, because why would he hold on to something?
Did we hear any screaming at all?
You do not recall hearing any screaming.
Well, if he was hanging, then he wouldn't be screaming,
But yeah, he wasn't killed by the fire. He was killed by the hanging.
Soon we'll
If
get
I
this.
yanked you over the edge of the ship for the noose, you wouldn't scream.
But if you're going to murder somebody, why not throw the body overboard?
Well, this has been a lovely conversation.
Yes, we're going to be in.
I believe I will excuse myself.
Forgive me. Miss.
Thank you, everyone, for your help. And thank all your men for me, Gerling. They've done an excellent job. You've led them very well. Thank you.
And he nods and says, "Well, it was our pleasure. We want you to feel safe and secure."
Well, I definitely do now. Thank you.
And then with Gerling says, "Well, I believe we shall retire." And he nods to Captain McLean, to the rest of you gentlemen, and he turns to leave. And McLean, again, he's a mountain of a man, but you can kind of see that he's got a soft side and concern. And he says, he addresses you guys and says, I have to admit, I'm puzzled. I believe that the circumstantial evidence points to foul play, but we just don't have any hard evidence. I guess, as difficult it is to believe, I guess it could have been suicide, but one most foul indeed.
Captain, you look like the kind of a man who likes to get his hands in the working parts of a ship. You probably know this ship better than anyone. You know every square inch of it, inside and out.
And he curls his huge hands and kind of looks at him. You can kind of see the white scars all over his hands. And he goes, "Yes, I'm quite familiar with this vessel."
Have you considered, are there any places aboard this ship where a stowaway could hide and come out at night when nobody's looking? Somebody who might have caused a fire in the hold. I mean, what madman lights a fire on a ship while we're at sea? That's an insane thing to do.
It is quite insane.
It could
But
have been the death of us all.
yeah, it could have been. But you said that he's been having ill dreams and lack of sleep. I would dare say I have heard that sleep deprivation has driven men to do far more insane things. But there could be a few places that the soldiers may have overlooked. I will definitely check the rest of the ship myself.
Well, to say what you just said there, quite honestly, the reason why we're all aboard the ship is because we've all been having sleep deprivation. And we're all heading towards Calcutta, towards an answer. So don't rule us out either as possible suspects.
And you can see like a different light is kind of turned on inside his eyes, and he says, "Yes, well, I shall keep that in mind. Good day to you." And he turns, and you can see that he heads not for the bridge, but he's starting to go down below deck, probably to do that extra little bit of detailed searching that it's possible there may have been a couple of nooks and crannies that the soldiers may have missed.
Yes, Captain, if you would welcome company as you look for these few places, I would be interested to see where they are.
Sure, absolutely. Come on aboard.
Thank you very much.
And so you can see, does anybody else want to join McLean?
I'm definitely not going to crawl around inside the bowels of a ship now.
Okay, so just Herr Hauptmann?
Yeah. But you know, see what Mr. Ramachandran's up to. He seems rather quiet.
I will join you, Mr. Crane.
Hello, Mr. Ramachandran.
Good day to you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Did they find out much?
Not much. I'm afraid the murderer is going to get away with it.
Oh dear. Yes, it would seem that when we dock in Calcutta, that would be an end to the matter.
Well, it seems more and more like there's either a secret person aboard the ship, or one of us is the murderer.
Well, it would seem logical that if we're looking for the watch and the murderer had the watch, then as soon as they knew that a search was underway for it, the watch would have gone overboard.
Indeed. Now, it's probably best just to let them continue to do their investigation if they do anything at all. If they can't find anything, then certainly we wouldn't be able to find anything.
There must be more to it. It would be a bit bizarre, a murder just to steal a watch.
Well, let's see. The last person to have seen Mr. Alive,
Fuller.
Mr. Fuller alive would have been Phoebe.
Just before the fire broke out, did any of us see Phoebe?
Well, I think we were all in our rooms, weren't we? If one of us saw Phoebe just before the fire broke out, then somebody was sleeping with Phoebe. No, I don't think it could be Phoebe. This is a ridiculous proposal. It's not even a proposal. It's just a fact that she was the last one.
It's all deeply ominous, gentlemen.
We all saw the
Deeply
watch.
ominous.
There must have been more to it than just the watch. It doesn't make any sense to murder someone just to steal a watch.
No, you just steal the watch. Take the watch and leave.
Yeah.
Well, there's nowhere to leave, but you could plan
all the watch references is the same dream that we've all been having.
the blue elephant, the message in Hindi, in Sanskrit.
His blue elephant was perfection. He did an amazing job with that.
And he was able to concentrate well enough to do it. I work on some rather delicate art forms myself, but I just couldn't. The eye strained, the concentration. I didn't have it.
I haven't been able to focus for over a month.
Well, it'll all be over. Tomorrow we'll be in Calcutta, and this whole business will be behind us. We don't ever have to find out what was going on or anything. It's not our business anymore.
I can't help but feel that it is my business, though, Mr. Crane. That gentleman took pains to introduce himself to us, and he shared an experience with us. In my culture, such things are rarely coincidental.
You're thinking that we met for a reason. The universe is trying to tell us something.
Very much so, yes. I try
it's
to look at these things with a rational mind, but
the coincidence.
I'm sure you must understand that India does not always obey the dictates of logic. So there are many odd things in this country,
Yes.
and I do not think that Western rationalism completely explains them all.
Are any of you armed?
No. It's in luggage. I've nothing on me though.
Oh, no. You're traveling to a dangerous foreign country and you're not armed. It doesn't mean anything. It's just dangerous.
On board.
Well, if you'll forgive me for saying so, Mr. Crane, I'm traveling from a foreign country.
Yes. But all of our criminals live in palaces and manor houses.
Quite so.
So while you gentlemen are having your conversation, Herr Hauptmann is traveling with Captain McLean as they begin to go deep into the bowels of the vessel, and as they so as you're getting into the low levels, it's incredibly hot. The engines. The heat kind of vents through this area, and it's quite unbearable. So the captain pulls off his outer shirt, and he's just got his undershirt on, and he just kind of starts crawling through this area as he starts to low crawl through a space, and he says, there is an area back over here. Let me go and check and see if there's anything or anyone hiding out back in here somewhere.
Okay, and I should stay here and wait for you, or?
Well, there's a matching one on the other side. Why don't you save time? You get under that piece of equipment and start crawling towards the port side, and you'll see there'll be a little gap back in there. Honestly, there shouldn't be anything over there, but just in case, it's the only thing I can think of as far as as far as anything happening, as far as somebody hiding.
A place someone could hide. So behind this, and I have to stay from this wheel, right? I have to stay.
Yeah, you'll have to get down on the floor, crawl through there, and then it'll turn and go up. And there's a pocket back up behind the wall over there. You can go check. Be careful, that equipment's really hot. So you might get, there's possibility of some burns.
That's last night also. All right, I'll try.
So give me a dexterity. I don't think this is going to be, I don't think this will be terribly affected by sleep deprivation. So just give me a dexterity test, normal, no penalty die.
I'm just crawling, so 41 is good. It's only okay.
Yeah, great. So you kind of get in there, and you can tell, there's some ventilation and some like hot water piping or something going on in here. So there's some areas where you could get some serious burns if you're not careful. But you skim your way through, and you find a space that you're able to kind of stand up in. And you get up in there, and you're able to walk to and fro a little bit in there. But it's empty. You find
there's not a coil of rope.
No coil of rope. You find nothing in there. You got filthy and hot, and you're sweating. It's just nothing in here.
So I try to trace my way back to where we parted. Hope he found something on the other side.
Yep, so you're going to have to kind of get back down and kind of start crawling through again. Give me another dex test to get out without burning.
Nope. I've got an 81 on my 50.
Sounds like that's too much that you don't want to spend luck on.
Yeah, that would be pretty extreme.
Okay. Take 1 hit point of damage as you were crawling around. Your shoulder lifted up, and such a scalding hot pipe, and so you got a bit of a burn on your exposed shoulder.
Right, and that nice shriek that you make when you suddenly
exactly
shirt.
Ah! Yep. And so you come out from this equipment, right? And sweat is pouring down your face. Sweat is in your eyes, right? And so you're having to blink your eyes and just kind of clear your vision, right? Because you can't see a thing with all that dirt and sweat getting in your face. And so as you come out from that equipment and you stand up, Captain McLean is standing there nearby. He's not really standing. He's actually kind of seated back, like he's just kind of resting up against a piece of equipment, and he's just got this dull look on his face, like he's just like he's not there.
He's slumped onto something, you said?
Yeah, he's just he's not standing erect like he's standing up. He's kind of leaned up, half seated on a piece of equipment. His back is kind of leaning up against a piece of equipment. Nothing hot and burning. He's just leaned up against a piece of equipment, and he's just kind of sitting there, slack jawed and eyes glazed and not really focused on anything.
And he's wearing probably black or dark blue pants and a white shirt.
Yep.
And he's got some grime and oil on him.
All over him. Even more so now because he did a similar crawl that you did.
Right, but no obvious blood.
No blood. He's just kind of sitting there.
I want to go up to him, but not quite grab him because we're both very hot and sweaty.
Uh-huh.
But my hand near his shoulder. Captain McLean, did you find something?
And he kind of has that effect where he kind of shakes his head, and his eyes seem to focus on the here and now.
Mm-hmm.
And he closes his mouth. He's kind of slack jawed. He closes his mouth, and he looks left, and he looks right, he looks around, and says, "What in blue blazes am I doing here? What are we doing in the bowels of the ship?"
Captain, it's very hot down here. Let's go upstairs and we'll discuss it.
Please, yes. And so
I'll give him a shoulder to help him get out of this area.
Yeah, he stands up again. He's a mountain of a dude. He stands up and kind of cracks his neck and goes and kind of shakes off, shaking off something, right? He's just kind of and then he starts climbing the ladder and starts getting out of here.
So
and you guys are back up on the deck.
Good. Does he seem to be compos mentis when he's in the fresh mist?
Yeah, once you guys get topside, he kind of shakes out his shirt and looks around. And he says, "Well, looks like the soldiers have completed their search. All right, I'm gonna get back on the bridge."
Well, I'm sorry. One moment, Captain, if you will. You see how this schmutz just fills on my. It's because we were in the guts of the ship. Both
Why?
of us, you and I, because we think there might be someone stowed away. And it is very troubling to me that you find, and I actually, you see, I got this burn from a steam pipe. It's a very small space, and you were in a similar space. And when you came out, you were, how you say, you were not clearly thinking. Yeah.
I'm sure it's just the venting, the gases down there, the heat, the steam. It can do a number on you. If you're not seaworthy. Get some rest, and I'm sure you'll feel better in the morning.
Thank you. I'm sure I will. But also, you do not remember being there. Is that right?
And give me a psychology roll. This is the sleep deprivation is going to be wearing on you on this. So yeah, your mental faculties.
I actually got a 29 for 31. Oh, that's psychoanalysis. That's not psychology. I couldn't possibly make it. Yeah, no.
Yeah, so you're not sure. It's hard to read him. But he's like, no, everything's fine. Yeah, so get some good night rest, and we'll be in.
Sorry, John, you got cut off there for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. The captain, he's hard to read due to your role, and he just kind of waves it off and says, everything's fine, and I'm sure you'll feel fine in the morning as well. Why don't you go get some rest? We're going to be in Calcutta in the morning.
Thank you, Captain. You sleep well also, please.
And he stretches and cracks his neck and kind of starts, shuffling off for his cabin.
So I have to look for my compatriots.
Okay.
Reiner, go over here.
Mr. Klein.
And is everyone together? Is Phoebe there?
Yeah,
Is Ramachandran?
Yeah.
I'm there.
Reiner, where have you been? You look...
Filthy.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I don't know whether I don't know whether I should go and see Dr. Snow because I have a burn here that I'm
Oh.
a little concerned about. But it was through my shirt. I don't think it was just a steam pipe or something. But I went into one side and the captain went into the other side and he came out and he did not seem like himself. He
Well,
did not remember where we had been.
Did you check the other side that he went down?
No, I didn't even send to do so. It's
Could he have bumped his head?
that is not unreasonable. It's a very small space, and he's such a
Well,
young man.
Well, I don't know. Given everything that's going on, I would feel safer if we checked. I'll go.
Oh, please.
No. I am.
My part.
No. I am. I think I can do it. And Phoebe's pretty small. She's size 45. So
Maybe if we take extra water and people move maybe in a chain. It was just I went on one side and he went on the other side. And I came out, I found nothing except, filth.
From the way you described it, I don't understand the logistics here. How could Miss Lockhart climb through a tight space on her knees while wearing a dress?
I have.
Well, nobody said that you had the watch, Mr. Crane, if that's what you were thinking about.
I might be able to assist. As you can see, I am myself rather a slight chap with a size of 40.
Oh,
my character isn't saying that.
Either of you should easily get through there, for the captain was a gigantic man, and he made it back there.
I bumped myself, and I'm, just some regular-sized guy.
I'll go.
Well, let's all go together. Let's get coffee and water, or tea and water.
I don't want to wait. I mean, if there was something back there, I wouldn't want it. I don't even know what would be back there that would leave, but
all I can say is that the captain came out very confused. He didn't even realize where he was. So I don't know if that's a thump on the head, or...
Did you hear him yell out, or a thud?
No, there was no cry, no. We both came out.
Well...
Maybe he saw something shocking.
Yes, well, please show me where it is.
Yes, time is wasting. Let's go.
And then Ramachandran and I can flip a coin or something, see who gets the honor to go.
All right. Hauptmann is able to guide you guys down into the deep, deep bowels of the ship, and the engine area here is incredibly loud, incredibly hot. The humidity is incredible. You begin sweating the moment you come down here, and your clothing is beginning to stick and cloy to your skin. And Hauptmann says, that way, and Captain McLean, he went that way.
Okay, well... Well, Ramachandran, which of us shall it be?
Please, I hope it will be both in some direction, right? So if there is a danger, someone will come out.
Okay, well, let's go together then.
I am, if anything, the smaller of we two. Perhaps I should lead. It seems like the gentlemanly thing to do.
I'll stay at the juncture where it splits.
I stayed above decks. I'm not going down into the full
Okay.
of the ship.
I shall start off Have I? I mean, have I been given directions?
Yes, as best to your ability, Hauptmann said, I had to go under this hot equipment, a certain distance, and I was able to kind of go up. And so, if it's like that, it'll be mirrored over here. And so you have a rough idea on how to get over into that area if it exists over there. If it's an area similar to what Hauptmann had on his side.
So with that in mind, I shall push on.
Okay. So give me a dex roll. This will not be affected by your sleep deprivation, just to kind of belly crawl your way under this hot equipment. And I believe Phoebe is going to follow, so she can also do a dex roll as well.
And a 44 is a pass for me.
I've rolled a 45, which is also a pass for me.
Okay, so you guys crawl your way under, and there are some incredibly hot steam pipes just inches from you. But as you crawl through, you find a small hollow area between this equipment and the what is clearly the outer hull of the ship. You're clearly below sea level, right? You're below the water line. And so as you guys kind of crawl around in here, there is a little bit of dim lighting from the ruby glow of one of these steam pipes. But there is a small metal box on the floor at the far back side of this little hollow that you're in.
Is it locked?
What do you make of this?
So it is it's a small box. It's quite decorative. It looks like it's got like Indian style decorations. Nothing. In fact, Mr. Ramachandran, it just looks very touristy. Like it's a tin for tobacco, right? It's a tobacco tin. So and the lid, it's not a hinged lid or anything like that. It's a piece box, and so you pull the top lid off, and so inside this small box, I'm assuming you open it. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you pull the top off, and inside is a small black book and a pocket watch with a blue elephant on it.
My God, I'll be damned.
Could I look at the book?
Okay.
I want to find somewhere with better light and less heat, so that thing doesn't burn up.
I'll just move it into the glow of the.
Reiner, you're muted.
I'll move it into the glow of the pipe to see if I can make out what's written in it a little.
Is it one of your languages?
Sorry, you cut out there. Is what one?
It is Arabic one of your languages?
No, of course not. I'm a gentleman. Why would I speak Arabic?
Of course not. So it's in a language that you think, just due to the scripture, you think is Arabic, but you don't know what it says.
Well, let's get out of here. Let's show this to the others.
Yes, let's let's put this all back in the tin and take the whole tin with us. That seems the best idea.
All right, so the book and the watch go back into the tin, and you guys begin to crawl out. Please give me dexterity tests on your way out.
I say, dashed hot down here. What?
Oh, 100.
Ooh!
Oh, no.
Oh,
She had a lovely face.
58 out of 60.
Oh, good. All right.
I've singed an eyelash or something.
I want Ramachandran to give me a luck roll.
40, which is a pass.
With a pass, I will let you choose. Were you exiting first or were you exiting second?
Well, it would be rather ungentlemanly of me to be crawling around in a confined space behind a young lady in that way. So I would have been exiting first.
Okay. So you exit first, and so with Phoebe trailing behind you, she's trying to crawl out, but she's not an experienced, soldier and doesn't really know how to do a low body belly crawl out. And instinct, her body took over, and she lifted up because you did roll 100. Is that what I heard?
Unfortunately, that is correct.
Okay. So as you were crawling out, you hunched up your back and you just laid your spine on a steaming hot vent pipe, lose 3 hit points. And I want you to permanently reduce your dexterity by 10 points. And you are screaming bloody murder and can no longer move. Gentlemen, what are you going to do? In fact, I need everyone, not Phoebe. I need everyone else to make a sand roll as you smell Phoebe's flesh cooking on the underside of this machinery. Everyone make a sand roll.
I don't smell it up above decks.
Oh, 99.
Oh,
back on form with yesterday's rolls.
Lose 1 sand if you fail this. If you fail the sand roll, lose 0 if you're successful.
I rolled a 2. Did I get somehow more sane? It's terrible.
If you eat the cooked flesh, maybe you can have more sand.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do? Phoebe is barbecuing under here.
Dear God. I'll try to make my way over there to try to assist. Dear God, what's going on down here?
Okay, make a dex test.
All right. 100. No, too many zeros.
Oh my God. Major Barnes, in his gust and zeal in order to try and help Phoebe, he lays his open hand right on a steam pipe as well, and that will be a loss of 3 hit points and also a permanent loss of 10 dexterity as your hand cooks to it. And of course, because it is your hand and you're on the outside, Major Barnes pulls back, and there's like stringy cheese flesh is just hand as it's on the pipe. I need everyone, not Phoebe because she's underneath and can't see this. I need everyone else to make sand roll from seeing Major Barnes' cheesy flesh being pulled off this pipe.
Oh, pass.
That I failed, but I've actually got the wartime dispensation for corpses. So it might be moderated.
That'll be corpses, and Dr. Major Barnes isn't dead yet, nor did he die from a military thing. This is completely different. So still lose 1 for failure of this sand roll, or lose 0 if you were successful.
I did lose. I was
So now Major Barnes is out. There's nothing he can do. His left hand is holding his right hand. That is nothing but raw hamburger meat. And Phoebe is still cooking underneath. Is anybody going to try and help her?
no. Mr. Ramachandran was in front of Phoebe.
Yes.
Yeah, he's out.
Major Barnes raced in after Phoebe.
He's going to try and help her and reach in, and he grabbed a pipe by in his zeal.
I'm
Can we get
outside.
back in to help Phoebe while Major Barnes is in there? Is there enough space?
No, I have to
Yeah,
drag
he's off to a
Barnes
side.
out first. I think I have to drag Barnes out by his feet. Basically, they all go in. Then I hear her scream. Then I hear him scream, and I see his feet. So I grab him by the feet.
He's not under. He's off to the side. He was squatting down and touched something, so he's still on the outside, and he just kind of he's off to the side now. So somebody can still reach under and grab Phoebe.
Yeah, I'll just yank him up by the feet. I think that should be.
Yeah.
Would that be
So
possible?
Barnes is out of the way, but if someone wants to help Phoebe,
I'm going to help. I want to help Phoebe out.
all right, then make a dex
I went
test
in
to
there
help
with her
Phoebe.
and- Oh dear. Should I change dice?
Does it ever help?
Oh, 7.
Oh, fantastic! You
That's
reach
an
in and you're
extreme.
you're able to pull Phoebe out, and
I take a chug of Gingold, and my arm extends to an incredible length.
Okay. So yeah, Phoebe is pulled out. Phoebe's unconscious. Major Barnes is about to fall unconscious. What do you guys, do you guys just kind of start body carrying these folks out? And who has the metal box? Who has the tin box?
I have the box.
Okay.
And we need to get these two to the doctor.
How far is Crane hiding? Is he just up on top of the steps, or is he on deck?
No,
or...
I never came down below.
Ah.
I'm still up there waiting for you to come out.
Adventure.
I'm having some tea.
Are you having tea on deck?
Yes.
All right.
Where we were before.
All right. So we've got 2 injured parties.
Yes.
Phoebe's out, so she can't take us to the infirmary.
Well, you guys all know where the infirmary is.
We all explored the ship.
And you went there too with the body.
Yeah, Hotman, you were there last night with the body.
Right. All right. So if Mr. Ramachandran, if you can hold on to Phoebe, I will take this box to Mr. Crane before I help Mr. Barnes, who can walk after all. It's just it's a mobile injury. I'll join you on the infirmary to see what we can do.
Now I saw where you went down, and I'm watching. So as soon as you come up steps, I'll immediately see you.
Okay.
Yes.
And if I
So
see you in distress, then I'll do.
Oh, you'll help at last. That sounds excellent.
Well, you'll hurt.
I'm not hurt. I'm a little,
Well, Miss Lockhart is hurt. Mr.
No.
My God, Mr. Barnes is hurt. What happened?
It turns out that steamships are very hot.
Yes, indeed.
And the
You were handing me
inside.
this. You found something.
I found everything, or half of everything.
Well, and I sort of tuck the box here, and I say, "Let's get her to the infirmary, please." Mr. Ramachandran, how about you? Are you okay?
I'm perfectly all right, thank you. But I fear Miss Lockhart is dreadfully injured.
So you get Lockhart and you get Major Barnes up to the infirmary, and Dr. Snow is there, and he's stunned by the injuries. He's like, "My God!" And he goes, "Were you in the engine room?" And he pulls you guys in, and he begins addressing some of the equipment that he has in his regular infirmary is to treat burns. engineers do typically get burned, and so he is prepared for this kind of thing. Although he is muttering and saying, "This is the worst I've ever seen. None of the men have ever laid their hand on one of those steam pipes or been foolish enough to crawl under one. Oh, this is crazy." And he addresses the wounds, and so each of you can receive 1 hit point back, but your dexterities are permanently reduced by those 10 points. Yeah, so I don't think I'll penalize any additional beyond that. But Major Barnes, your hand is wrapped up, and you're going to be left-handed for a while, as your right hand is just thrumming. Miss Lockhart, your back is all bandaged up, and you're going to have a hard time doing any kind of prolonged like running and stuff. Walking is going to be even painful for you. Okay.
Yes.
Also, the sex appeal you count on so thoroughly.
Well, I'm still beautiful. It burned me in the.
Just not back here.
Yes.
Right.
Just don't look at my back. I have a. Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, and that beautiful dress you had is just all burned away as well. So with that, you guys go and retire as best you can to your cabins, and try and get again, as you brings on end, you're going to try and get some sleep as best as possible. So we will draw this episode to a close there, and when next we meet, we'll start with another sand check for sleep deprivation.
Mr. Ramachandran, please put that those materials someplace safe.
I have
I
a
will
box.
do just.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Mr.
sorry,
Crane. Yeah.
yes.
Yes,
All
I
right,
will.
so Crane has that. All right.
Our players included Nick Swan, Stuart Lively, David Gasaway, Morgan Llewellyn, and myself, with John Hook as the Keeper of the Secrets. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The costs involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 to a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good gaming.